Hey y'all, the real Jimmy Roberts 1 here. We have something to consider. So this question, are we being duped with the digital images that are being sent back to Earth from NASA's Mars rovers? Now, if you're annoyed by the question, I get it. Conspiracy theories and the theorists that go with them can be very annoying. But I truly feel that what we have here is beyond that. And I'm not here to try and make you see things in images that aren't there. I'm here to show you why many people believe we have a serious problem on our hands. Well, by now, there's millions of Mars rover images. The rover Curiosity has by itself generated over 800,000 of them. And there appears to be things going on in these images that are inconsistent with the origin being of a foreign planet having no signs of life, past or present. I'm certain the general public has no idea what is in some of these images. Stay tuned, and we'll show you some of those things that shouldn't be. We can spin our wheels all day long discussing pareidolia, while evidence like this is quietly being archived by NASA. Any reasonably sane human being is going to recognize certain geometric shapes as being that of artificial design. Everything you see here was obtained from NASA's official geologic site, the Analyst's Notebook. And every image is cataloged in at least one prior production on this channel, so if you don't see a reference here, there are links in the video description to those videos. Blocks and more blocks. Not large rocks that are sort of shaped that way, but blocks. Sharp, perpendicular edged blocks in all the rover images. Now, this directly contradicts what we are supposed to be believing about this planet. And we're just getting started here. Look at this. And we have this in multiple images, even stereoscopic 3D. It's also in this image, and we supplied a calibrated female human for size reference, and would you just look at that squared off clearing down there in Moonlight Valley. Something's up, folks. Pay attention. So we had this situation where too many people thought they saw a bird in this rover Curiosity image. Understandable, yet it isn't a bird. It's something interesting, yes, but it is not amongst the living. In fact, a lot is interesting here, and if you look around the near surface, it appears something might be partially underwater. Can you see that? Now, we saw this earlier, and it's from this same immediate area. Now, to me and many others, that looks like a reflection in a pool of water. And you might think, well, big deal. NASA has said there's water on Mars. Well, yes, sort of. In 2012, they admitted to liquid water, but downplayed it, adding that it existed only under certain conditions. So no mention of standing water or flowing water such as streams. We believe Curiosity has followed a river ever since it landed nearly 12 years ago. It is present in the background a lot, sometimes closer. At times, it's clearly visible, while at times, it's as if a digital dusting has been applied to make it seem less apparent. Just take a look through all this. We followed image after image, Martian day after Martian day, and the river lines up in every one of them. If it's a river, what do you think's going on back here? Now, this is the base of what they call Mount Sharp. As is this. and you can come up with your own conclusions of what's going on up there. I know what it looks like. I'm just saying. Well, that is part of a collapsed parking garage on Earth. And that is a picture from NASA's rover Curiosity from the surface of Mars. And for some reason, amidst the rubble and debris, we've run across multiple images that seem to display the skeletal remains we'd expect to see with collapsed, intelligently designed structures right here on Earth. We studied this in stereoscopic 3D. It is protruding from that block. Perhaps it is a concrete anchor. And if you explore the surface close to the rover, you might often notice broken pieces of something that looks much more like concrete than random rocks on a dead planet. But what is going on here, folks? Now, this looks like concrete. Now, some who refuse to accept that we might be getting fooled here often make blind excuses, such as claiming that certain pieces of evidence are merely parts of the landing mechanism. Well, those things do exist, but we know the difference here, and today we do not make those mistakes. That looks like concrete and a bent piece of metal partially covered. And masonry? Again, what is going on? Identifying a written language on a lifeless planet is a sketchy business. God, I'm funny, and I'm really trying not to be. But we really feel like most evidence of such has been removed from imagery. But if you look close enough, there are things. Well, for all we know, someone at NASA could be jacking with us. But I would like to know who left their shovel. Now, like everything else displayed here today, there's much more. We are simply throwing a few notable highlights out there. You may not like every piece of evidence presented here today, but the entire body of work shown here should strongly suggest to you that there is something going on here. The rover Curiosity has 6 wheels that are 20 inches wide each. It often roughs up the terrain and then proudly takes pictures of it. Now, we see this quite a lot in these images, so you have to ask, is there a collapsed civilization buried underneath? The first thing we thought when we saw this was that we were looking at rusty old machined parts. We located the matching navigational camera imagery and looked even closer and found what appears to be numerous screw heads, bolts, things you'd likely find here on Earth. Now, this isn't the only place we found such things. And you know, it is what it is, and hopefully you can see it. And we're going to leave it at that for now. So we're looking at this, wondering if it could have been something similar to the Great Sphinx. A stretch? Maybe. But then again, it does have this sitting right next to it. And this thing is artificial, folks. Go see our more in-depth videos regarding it. And there's something very unusual piled up near it. We tried to break it down for you. So this nearby supposed butte is around 150 feet tall. And no, we don't believe it's actually a butte. Here's a quick comparison to actual remains near the Great Sphinx on Earth. We dissected and colorized the distinct segments along this area of the rise. Okay, we provided some perspective here because people generally think things are much larger than they actually are in these images. I think you'll notice the main object of interest, and it is less than 1 foot in height. And here is a reproduction by Kim Carrier. Now, we don't know if there is a direct connection of Mars to Egypt, but you know what? I wouldn't rule it out. Now, some areas are imaged by the rover with what appears to be far too much exposure, making the surface appear bright white and confusing. But by applying a filter called exclusion, the whites are reversed while the darks are unchanged, and this appears to have uncovered an incredible area having a collapsed structural frame. Just take a look through this. There also appears to be a trough about 2.5 feet deep. It looks like it could have held water, yes, and here is a perspective for you. That human is 5 foot 2 inches tall. And if you'll notice, there's a contraption back here, and it's evident without any filters applied. So this alleged bone created quite a stir. It looks like a bone, but we don't know if it is. But did you know that this is in the immediate vicinity? Yes, that's right. About 40 yards away. And I'm just going to let you watch some of the work that we did with this. Now, this is the navigational camera image of the same object, and we measured it to be about 9 inches in length. By now you may be wanting to ask, but why? It's intriguing and there does appear to be something going on, but why? It doesn't make any sense. Why even release the images? And you know, you're right, it doesn't make any sense. Not to us, but it does to someone. It does to those who are perpetuating this ongoing hoax against humanity. And so let's define that word, hoax. In this context, it would be best described as a malicious deception. And yes, I said malicious. Why wouldn't it be? Now, everything you're seeing here today was obtained from the Mars Science Lab's Analyst Notebook. That's NASA's official geologic site. There are a few items in here that were obtained from David Gannett's work, but all of those images have been verified. They are authentic. When we detect something interesting in a rover image, what happens next is we begin searching for more rover images of that same area. We want to view the suspicious area or object or objects from as many angles as possible. And we search for the stereo pairs in particular, because with those, we can immediately see depth. No special glasses needed. And there's a link in the description on how to do this. A 3D imaging expert, Dave Gannett, was an essential member of the 3D development process here. Cannot say enough good things about him. But seeing things in 3D both confirms and denies the legitimacy of many objects compared to how they seem in the flat 2D world. The stereo images are also the reason we're able to garner size and distance measurements via the Analyst Notebook. The rovers use the XYZ Cartesian coordinate mapping system for navigation, and once images are mapped, we're able to use them to dispel rumors concerning size and distance. A lot of so-called anomaly hunters don't like it when we show a supposed large mountain to be only 30 feet in height. But if it's not a mountain, it's just a hill, folks. It is what it is. And just because you want to believe it's something else does not make it so. We feel pretty confident in stating that when it comes to NASA tomfoolery, size and distance is not where this occurs as far as the Martian surface is concerned. The deception lies elsewhere. There's little or no doubt that many images are manipulated to hide certain things from us. The overall collection of rover imagery could be described as a gallery of obfuscation. They're supposed to be raw images loaded onto the servers as raw PDS files. That's planetary data system files. But if you render the files yourself, you'll see the same corrupted imagery. So there must be a process to where images are rendered, manipulated, and then converted back into PDS files. Now, we can't say for certain how they're doing this, much less why, but there's proof in the pictures, folks. There's just too much. But something significant is happening here. Question all of it. Are the rovers even actually on Mars? But either way, why do they even release these halfway house images where it's so obvious they contain remnants of life in them? Not just life, but intelligent life. Is this all just part of an experiment to see how gullible or aloof we are? Well, regardless of how and why, it's a scam, folks, a hoax. So think, just think. Now, we'll leave you with some more imagery we've collected and studied over the past few years. Enjoy and remember to stop and think. What is going on here? Until next time, the real Jimmy Roberts 1